Well, hello, my name is Mitchell Parker, and you're listening to one of my most fabulous pre-recordings. Well, fabulous in terms of the content, not necessarily fabulous in terms of the audio quality, but I'm sure you'll enjoy this podcast that you're about to listen to. So without further ado, here it is.
My name is Mitchell Parker, and this is another little time where I'm walking home, and I thought, well, let's just talk about a few things. Who is to say that, much like China, you can have a social credit system, and if you don't do as the government says, well, they're going to switch off your phone. You can't use it. You turn off the phone, you turn off someone's connection to society. You have these alleged hackings, and that's why this whole form of identification is insecure. So here's a new safe alternative. So the latest distraction from the world today is in the state of New South Wales, where the opposition leader, who's heading into election, says that he wants to have phone jammers in schools to dissuade students from using their phones. Now, I could be very well educated here, and I could tell you exactly how they're going to do it and all the methods involved, but I have no idea what it is, whether it's a software thing or a hardware thing. Let me tell you that they use this technology already in super maximum security prisons already. So you can tell what sort of technology this is. This is another form of authoritarian control. So yeah, here in New South Wales, in Australia, the state where Sydney's in, that's what the opposition leader wants to do. Now typically, the Liberal government, that is the allegedly right-wing party in Australia, has said, oh no, this is crazy. You're giving your data away to other companies, third parties. So from that I assume it's a software thing. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, doesn't that mean anything at all? Like, what's the point of that? You're not really telling me any more about what it actually does. I don't know what it does. I don't care too much, because if this gets instituted, if the Labor government, which is the nominally left wing, if we can still use left and right party, if they get elected, they'll institute it then, and maybe I'll read up some more about it. But right now, it's a distraction, because what the real story is that this technology, presuming it's a software, could then be very well adjusted for the general population, where if it is this third-party software, as I understand, though, like I said, this is all me not reading it, this is all speculation from me not reading it, from hearing what the Liberal people, the normally right-wing side, really not said, that it would be giving away data, so I assume it's a software. Let's suppose this software could also be used on everybody's phones. Who is to say that, much like China, you can have a social credit system, and if you don't do as the government says, well, they're going to switch off your phone. You can't use it. And in a society where we have switched off a whole host of physical means of interaction with society, you turn off the phone, you turn off someone's connection to society. And we saw the other week, I think it was just last week, where the New South Wales government went up for election, announced a digital ID. And obviously in the news story, they mentioned recent data leaks. And I say leaks because that's what they are, not hackings. These are designed leaks. And because, of course, these are way more secure, apparently. Those cars are going for a bit of a race, it seems. But anyway, so it's so transparent what they're doing. They're not even trying to hide it. They're clearly saying, look, all these data breaches have happened. So, hey, look at this lovely set of digital ID. You just need to take a photo of your face and put it on your phone, and pop, that just verifies you, and you can just share exactly what you want with whatever people you need to share that information with. And so what it does is that links everything to your face and then links it to your phone. So who is to say that one time, whoop, that little jam happens, and oh no, you can't access your phone, you can't access your digital ID. Well, you know what that means? It means you can't do anything because you have your ID. Would you like to buy some alcohol or some cigarettes? I'm not encouraging the use of either of those two, but this is the two I can think of where you need to prove your age. Say that is exactly what happened. How are you going to be able to prove that if you don't have a physical form of ID? And so you can see how everything is working in tandem. That you have these alleged hackings, and that's why this whole form of identification is insecure. So here's a new safe alternative, right? The governments, the institutions of the world create the problem, and then they create another problem which they claim is the solution to the problem they created. So it's all open for people to see if you want to look. If you want to see the things that are happening, you'll see it. If you don't want to see, you don't want to see, right? And so it's just another piece of the puzzle. And just, I understand, I went to school fairly recently, right? So I know people using phones in class, and I didn't particularly like it. But I mean, that's probably because I was a bit of a stickler for the rules. I'm not so keen on the rules now because I can see how they can be used and abused. So if you don't want children having phones, there's a simple solution. As a parent, it is to remove the phone. I mean, you are the parent after all. And if you don't want to, well, that's your choice, and the state should not be getting involved in that. But this will happen anyway. I mean, it's just like the lockdowns. The normally right-wing party will say, oh, no, we don't have lockdowns. Everything's balanced, right? And then you get a few cases of what I like to sometimes go back to the old phrase of the spicy flu, the alleged COVID-19. I say alleged because we know those tests are faked. Even the numbers are faked. Or at least we know that they could fake them. I mean, who's to say who has control over their data? So I'm just supposing they're fake, but we know at least from the leaks in the UK that they were driving up the testing numbers there. So who's to say this wasn't happening here also? We do the tests. Numbers are faked, and we've had a couple of events where people given false positives and false negatives. Regardless of that, they would say, oh no, we're not a lockdown state. They instituted sanctions as worse in New South Wales in a nominally right-wing state than they did in Victoria, where no one is, in a nominally left-wing state. The difference is that one wears a red tie and one wears a blue tie. And that's all it is. So the real question has to be, what can we do about all this? Given that there's an election coming up, what could we possibly do? Let me tell you what we can possibly do. Nothing. Because the people that are still listening to this, people that are interested, what maximum 10%, we want to be generous, and the rest don't care. The rest could not give two hoots about what the government does, because apparently dirty government's always right. and if the Daddy government is your opposition. And I just think we have to understand that we are in a new paradigm, right? We all used to have a shared reality, if you want to put it that way. We used to have a reality that we all used to roughly agree on. I mean, there were still divisions between Christians and non-Christians, of course. I'm not denying that for one moment. But we generally agree that was there such a thing as reality. We would disagree with what exactly is reality. We still have it. And so, what's happening now is that we have, at least in 2020, well, it started to become a whole lot more apparent in 2021. I think because people had we'd sort of woken up over the year. I mean, lots of people were against all the narrative pushes from the beginning with 2020. Good on everyone. I mean, I would like to say I was one of those. I mean, I was against lockdown and everything from the beginning, and then, you just fall into line because that's what we did. Doesn't it was right. But, over the course of that year, we sort of woke up, and then when they tried the same nonsense again in 2021, well, we said, we're not having it. We know you're murderous thieves who want to destroy our society, poison us and kill us, and we don't want a bar of it. And that's why we saw all the freedom movements appear. And just as those dark winters of 2021 in Europe were about to occur, particularly in Austria, where, you will be fined if you do not have the job. We had that peak, and then it all just slowly drifted away. In the following year, it just disappeared. And then, conveniently, Ukraine. Oh, wonderful. So, I mean, this is what happens, is we have to acknowledge that there is a new paradigm, and some people aren't awake to that. I mean, some people are still thinking this is a good idea. And I know plenty of people who, oh dear, I just see a very, very large spider. And this is Australia, so let's walk away very quickly from that large spider because I don't want to be poisoned. Thank you very much. Just a reminder for you guys, this is Australia. And woke Peppa Pig, before it was woke, they had the episode banned in Australia because it showed them being friendly with the spider. And you do not want that here in Australia. Of course, we have some nice ones. We have some quite poisonous ones. Anyway, what was I saying? I was saying a lot of freedom people, a few, were still stuck in this old paradigm where we engage in good faith arguments with, or good faith thinking of the people on the other side, the anti-freedom people. We seem to think that everything that happens by the government and is reported in the news is exactly as it was, right? That, this was just a collective period of insanity. I'd like to name someone who does that, and someone who I actually do like and respect quite much is James McPherson, right? He was one of these people who was saying that the phone jams were a great idea and that parents like it. I mean, really? James, you know what they did over the past couple of years? I don't know why you're saying that this is a good idea, because this is a terrible idea. Don't worry, you're not coming to arrest me. That's the ambulance. We just pray the person's all right, because lots of people are sick. Some from very natural causes, and some from very unnatural causes. Just a moment, I thought they were going to arrest me for a thought crime. Anyway, I don't understand why he can call out the word nonsense, but he's still stuck in the old paradigm that the government is actually doing something for the good of people. I mean, just now, I think it was yesterday or Monday, actually it was Monday, because I just watched, I was watching them out of sequence. I watched Monday nights last night, and I watched Tuesday nights this evening for his, and that is the late debate on Sky News, which is happening very soon, 10 o'clock Australian time, Sydney time, I should say. And on that Monday episode, they were talking about how the current Liberal government were arguing for that they should have a fund, like a super fund, but for children. The government can open an account, and they'll put in some money, and you'll put in some money, and then the child will get the money when they turn 18. Oh, what a wonderful idea this is. No, a terrible idea. Another way to take money out of people who currently have it and put it away for children who will either die from having the poison shot or conveniently, oh dear, what could possibly happen? There could be inflation and, well, there might be propagandized from all the education they're receiving. And so, what makes you think about things is that the government's going to take the money, give it to children who potentially will hate their parents because they've gone to schools where their phones have been robbed. No, that's what the government tells them. Interesting. I just seen the bus go past and I could have got to go home, but it's all right. Get some exercise in, have a talk. Good to get these ideas out. I mean, I don't do the podcast, so I should actually make these into the podcast. Because it's, I haven't done the podcast since, a proper one since May. I've got a couple of episodes at the last Twitter space to do. Convert to podcast, haven't done it yet, should do that, get around to it. But you have to see these things what they really are. You have to see them as the nefarious things are. It's not a conspiracy theory to say that. You're just pointing out the reality of what's happening. And if you're not going to do that, you're just ignoring the obvious. And I think that's all the James is doing here. Is he's seeing, what could have been a wonderful idea 5 years ago. It's now a terrible idea now because we can see that the intentions of the government. We can see that what they want is control and sheeple, and obviously, a sprinkling of woke people to drive along their agenda for them. And that's all this is. It's another move to take our money away from us. Like, yeah, we all want what's best for children, but the government is putting in our money, so our taxpayer dollars. I did economics, and whilst I wasn't necessarily a fantastic fan of my teacher, or of the general understanding of economics, but that was at school, not uni. I did a bit at uni, because I had to do it for my degree. But I saw that actually the ideas actually bore out that there were some products that you just can't have as a private industry, as a private function, as something that people can make into a business. Things that are collective, like garbage collection or defense and police, right? And so what that means is those are the things the government need to have control over it. That you need some substantial form of taxation. As in you need a substantial system, not a substantial amount of taxation. And so you have to be able to have that. What you don't need is the government engaging in needless spending campaigns where the government says, oh yeah, we'll give you free money, guys. Just once you turn 18, we'll give you all that money. Just be put in an account. And I understand superannuation. I understand the need for that, to invest that money, and it's a fantastic idea, superannuation, but it's your choice. Because if the government doesn't want to fund your pension and your retirement, then that's what they should say. The onus is then on the people. But if you're not going to do that, you're not going to fund your retirement, fine. But don't put the onus on the people to do it, but then make something else mandatory. That you need to contribute a mandatory amount to superannuation. But like I said, this is more egregious, because eventually you can access your superannuation if you need to. But if you're a child, you can't. And besides, the government does contribute some money to superannuation, not all of it. And that's the federal government. The state government is different, because the state government it gets a proportion generally of the GST, gets a proportion in Australia. They get the goods and services tax, 10% on everything, almost. And that's what it is. And then it gets divvied up, not based on where everything was purchased. It's a percentage thing and a couple other taxes. So what this means, though, is if you're giving money to every child, you're taking more taxation money. It could be used to actually better be used than in an account which does nothing, unlike superannuation, which does fund investments. And even if superannuation is not good in practice, it is a good idea in theory. This is not a good idea in theory, because it's just taking money from parents, promising to give it to their kids. But really, it's just another removal of money from society and into the pockets of the government. And it's amazing. These governments that are telling us to save money, they printed money. They made up money that was not there. And sure, that wasn't the state government, but we all know how in cahoots they are. It's not even a conspiracy to say that. If I can speak properly. We had what was called a national cabinet, where an entirely unrecognised body in the constitution appeared almost out of thin air, came out from COAG, which is, the states, the territories, the federal government and the local government. So all three levels of government from each of the states and territories, and someone to represent the local governments, all met. And then they decided, no, we'll replace this with national cabinet, which kicked out the local government and essentially was dictating the policy. And it wasn't even dictating anything. It was a clown show, because every premier and chief minister wanted something different. And this was back in 2020, where it seemingly was meant to get everyone on the same page for a couple of girls singing in the car. I can sing better than me, but got my taste in music. To get everyone singing on the same page about the narrative they were forcing on us. But then people would disagree with the narrative, and you'd have premiers going here, there, and everywhere, and it was a clown show, and it was a distraction from what was actually going on. And so, you have to remember this, is that everything works together, and that's not a conspiracy theory. So you should be thoughtful when the government says, we're going to take your money, your taxpayer money, put them into account. Your children may just see them when they turn 18. It all comes down to personal responsibility. And do you want to be a sheeple, the government, or do you want to be a person who is a sheeple, or a sheep? It should just say sheep, because that's the biblical language of sheep for Jesus. That's what it is. You can't serve two masters. The Bible, it says love of money and God. Really, you can insert any other master who's trying to enforce a different ideology, different religion upon you. But the thing is we have those groups, and we have the woke as well, who, I forgot what Jane Caro said exactly on Twitter. I'll see if I can find it about this plan. Let's see if I can find it. And she's a left-wing commentator. She's a wokey. Wokey, that's a new one. Woke hard, we could use that one. Let's have a look. She called it, "Oh look, another hunger relief program that favours the well-fed. That's Christian neoliberalism for you." There God smiles, and she mocked God by giving it God a lowercase g. Smiles on the rich and frowns on the poor. Fund public schools properly, so if you really care about every child's future. And there it is. That's what this is all about. It's just another story that the woke then use, because you have to remember the woke's enemy is always the establishment right-wing party. The woke don't actually hate the freedom people, because the woke is still the old paradigm. They're still in thinking that the government is always right. And so are also the other people, the establishment people in the right wing. They are also in that camp. But I just want to get back to the phone jammers and James McPherson, because he knows all these things. But he's just got to, you have to flick the switch. Be like, yeah, wow, I can see what's happening. You know, it's the blue pill, red pill kind of thing. And even to some extent, the white and black pill, if you want to go into too many colours. But let's just go red, blue pill, just to simplify things. The blue pill symbolizes, I should say, I was talking about simplification, it symbolizes your own thoughts, your own ignorance, and your bliss. And the red pill represents the reality, the truth, what's happening. You take the red pill, you cannot go back. You cannot think, this is right. And whenever I see the news, I don't want to watch it, and I try to stay away from it. Whenever I see it, I can just see how every story is manipulated to present a particular view, and that everything is carefully curated to give a particular message, to promote the stories that don't matter, and to basically delete the stories that do matter. I mean, where are all the meetings in the news about all the people dropping dead, or all the hearings that take place in the US where various bits of exactly what went on and still goes on in regards to the COVID-19 plan and a scamdemic? Where's that? Of course it's not in the news, because that's not what people want to hear. And you need to bring it back to Christianity, because if you don't agree that Christianity is the true religion and that you're saved by Jesus, nothing matters. Really doesn't. And you have to have that transform you. And if you're not transformed into, as the King James Bible, I'm not quoting it correctly, indirectly, that Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and it shall set you free," and that's what this is, right? We have to stop thinking the old paradigm that the people who call themselves Christians really are Christians, and they just politically disagree with us. Because we can go back and we can look and say, hang on, really? I don't think so. We come from two different premises. You have Christianity as a Sunday sport, as a hobby you do once or twice in the week. Christianity changes your life. And if you're going to be someone, honestly, who is a freedom person, that's what you have to go for. Because that's the ultimate truth. That you're a sinner, we're all sinners, and Jesus died to save us. That's the gospel. That's why this is called the gospel freedom, because that's what ultimately matters. And yeah, all the others are so-called side issues, but they all come from the fact of which religion are you going to go with? The religion of God or the religion of man? And that's what these are. And they're all lovely little distractions from the real deal. Because you have to have news, otherwise people get bored. That's the bread and circuses idea. You got to give your bread and circuses, and that's what you have. And so you have to distance yourself from these people. You by all means, try to convince them. But I know firsthand these people, they don't want to listen to you. And like, the more supposedly Christian they are, the more dogmatic they are. Because they genuinely believe in some twisted way that they're doing the right thing. That everything is fine, everything is normal, we can just forget about the past 3 years, it just never happened. And occasionally see a complete NPC, complete sheeple, wearing a mask on the street where there's no one there at all, wearing a mask alone in their car. It was never right to begin with, but the further this goes on, the further you can see just how destroyed people are, how broken people are. And this is the perfect opportunity to bring out the gospel. And what happened? What did we see? In all that darkness, we saw the so-called Christians, they turned. Right a year around, we saw, no. This vaccine is immoral. Turn around a year, and they're all pushing it. And it doesn't matter whatever they say that they disagree with segregation in churches. It's a point about all of society. And they didn't raise a peep. I mean, I started what I started because people weren't doing it. Christians were vacating their responsibility. And turns out, no, they weren't even Christians. And it's a tough call, and it's fine, you can disagree with that. But you just have to admit that, because you can't tell me that the world is ending via some carbon in the air when the Bible says clearly that Jesus will end this world. And that there will be a new heaven and new earth. And so this is what it goes down to. It always goes down to why. It's not just, well, this is one jab and this is a mask and this is whatever. It's the why. It's the where you go back to. And if you're unwilling to do that and to get back to the Bible, you're just proving yourself to be the absolute fraud that you are. And I'm not saying James McPherson in any way represents this. But I'm just saying that he needs to fully get on with that. Because he can see what's happening. He's just got to say, yeah, no, bit right, Christian, right? Because at some point, as I keep saying to all these people in the freedom community who won't clearly say this, at one point is someone not a Christian. Like, there has to be a point. Because you don't call these uniting church people Christians who say that homosexuality is acceptable and that there is no planet B despite there being a new heaven, new earth. You don't call them Christians. So why can't we draw the line here also? But they won't, and that's fine. They have their reasons, and I understand they want to seemingly accommodate these people because they're still in the old world. But you have to move past that. And Liz Storer knows that. She's on the late debate as well, and she can see through the rest. But we just got to keep going. You know, these people will turn around. These friend people will, because they know what's going on. You just have to just give it a little nudge so they understand that, yep, you're right about this. You just got to keep saying you're right about it because you're going back to the Bible on it. But yeah, that has been a little podcast, Twitter space, about a little bit of everything. But really, you got to go back to the Bible. Otherwise, none of this makes any difference, because otherwise it's all subjective. Why can't they do what they do to us? And if you don't have that, basis for that, it really, really does not matter. Anyway, thank you for listening. It's been great to have your company. Goodbye, and God bless.